watching New York Sports Zone. We're going to get into this series a little bit for a brief episode here. We're going to come back. We're going to dive into stats and stats and stats. Even though Joe Morgan of ESPN Sunday Night Baseball says stats suck, and I think they do suck big time, B-A-L-L-S. But we will have to look at some of the stats. It is the Chicago Blackhawks, the Vancouver Canucks now. I've been watching the Hawks for over 25 years. Okay, I've been watching the Canucks for 25 years. I will try and do my utmost best to respect both cities. I'm a huge fan of the city of Chicago. I love Chicago. It's like if I could live anywhere, it would be Chicago. I'm a true Hawks fan. However, I do live in Vancouver. I do. And so I do know sort of the ambience, the feel, the energy here in Vancouver. I will try and bring you viewers and all the other hockey nuts that are huge fans of the Vancouver Canucks what this is like. Already you're starting to cruise down Broadway and all that stuff. You see all the restaurants. They got the Canuck flags out hanging from the rooftops and all. It's pretty neat. It's pretty neat. It's pretty exciting. This city has ached and hurted for, well, almost a year now. Well, yeah, a year since last the Chicago Blackhawks ousted the Canucks in Game 6 at the UC. That being said, Canucks last year against St. Louis, I think they had a little too much time in between the break, and now we're kind of stuck with a familiar situation. That same sort of familiar thing is kind of what's happening right now. The Hawks won on Monday night. The Canucks won on Sunday night. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday will be Game 1. So there's some time, maybe a little too much as far as I'm concerned. I think they should get this thing going Friday night, but whatever. I don't work at the NHL. As far as I'm concerned, I'm glad I don't, because Gary Bettman's is a bum rash. The bottom line is this, is that the Vancouver Canucks and the Hawks are going to have 4 or 5 full days of practice. And I think this kind of benefits the Hawks, because I think the Hawks, out of any team in the Olympic break, I think they were probably the most fatigued. I think even in Game 2, Game 3, you could see Seabrook sort of huffing and puffing. You've seen some of the Hawk players leaning over. I know they didn't want to be seen or caught on camera that they were leaning over. But Duncan Keith has played a lot of hockey this year. Same with Brent Seabrook, same with Hossa, same with Taze, same with Patrick Kane. But the bottom line is this. Guys like Patrick Sharp are starting to find their groove. He started to get into a little bit of a groove in Game 4, 5, and 6 with Chicago. That's huge. There is more news. Excuse me. There is other breaking news today that Dustin Byfuglien is now moving back from defense back to forward, where he belongs. There is no word on when Johansson is going to return. Now, this is the defenseman that they got in the trade with Cam Barker. This is the deal that I don't like. Apparently, Bob McKenzie from TSN has said that the kid that they got in that trade through the draft with Cam Barker going to Minnesota and then Johansson coming to Chicago, the kid that's also involved in that trade is supposed to be quite very talented, very gifted, very athletic, and very skilled. Apparently, Bob McKenzie would put him sort of in the same brackets, if not better, than a Chris Versteeg. So if that's the case, then that trade works out. But I'm not happy about the trade right now. Cam Barker was a big physical presence, and that I am concerned about with the Vancouver Canucks, because the Canucks are fast, they're shifty, they can wheel and deal. Now it seems like the Sedins are finally starting to come around to North American hockey sense. And I don't mean that to be from an ignorant perspective, but the Sedins, we all know their cycle. That works, that's great, that's grand and all that stuff. It's fun to watch. And they finally found that next level that, hey, to use this system, our system, you got to also use your muscle in the playoffs. And I think they finally found that with LA. I don't think LA lost their system. I think LA just sort of ran into inexperience and fatigue. That being said, though, Chicago's defense with Nicholas Jarmelson, Brent Sopel, who I firmly believe can be a very small difference maker, but at the end of the day, I really don't hold a lot of faith in Brent Sopel. No disrespect to the Chicago Blackhawks when I say that, but at the end of the day, this kid can be a liability. And this is where I'm concerned, because the Sedins, back to my Sedin point, is that now the Sedins are also starting, and Joe Quenneville said this, they're starting to take a nice rush. They're starting to rush the lead, and they're starting to shoot on that lead as well. They're not getting into the doopsy-doodling, passing and cycling and all, they're starting to shoot way more off that rush. So that's what the Hawks are going to go up against in this series with the Sedins, and that does kind of concern me a little bit. The Blackhawks, thank God Marian Hossa wasn't suspended for 2 or 3 games, because I'm not going to go there. It's done. It's over with. But at the end of the day, Hossa needs to continue to find his game. I know Hossa had 3 points in Game 6, I believe, but he needs to start bulging the twine more and more. He signed a fat, lucrative contract with the Chicago Blackhawks. He's been to the Stanley Cup 2 years in a row. I know we all go off about Marian Hossa's abilities to sort of muck it up and consume a lot of energy out of the other team's forwards and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, I want to see some more goals from Marian Hossa. If Hossa and Sharp can really step it up, I know we're going to get, the usual from Kane and Taves, but Kane's also got to step it up as well. Taves, Sharp, and Hossa, I think they all had 3 points in the last game, but Kane's got to step it up as well. And I think Kane was affected by the Olympics as well. I don't want to use excuses. But at the end of the day, I think Chicago's defense could be suspect. Now, you flip the tables here with Vancouver, their defense could be suspect. And I only say that because of guys like Edler, O'Brien, and Bieksa, if they continue to play the way they've been playing in that LA series, very tough, very aggressive, very in your face, rubbing the dirty mitt, pulling out the Chris Chelios dirty mitt in your face. I thought O'Brien had a hell of a series. I think what O'Brien did when the one time he's skating around the rink or behind the net with Kopitar, he said something. He sent a message, and he kept doing that. There was I believe in Game 2, Game 3, their defense somewhat got a little mishy-mashy, or Game 2, pardon me. But at the end of the day, Bieksa, Edler, and O'Brien and Sammy Salo have to stay healthy, and they have to stay aggressive, okay? Alex Edler, we all know, has decided to wake up in the morning of late and eat his Scott Stevens cereal, his Scott Stevens Cheerios, whatever you want to call it. He has to be aggressive. He has to be aggressive with guys like Kane and Taves. Bottom line, you got to also deal with Andrew Ladd, Troy Brower, Christopher Steve, which those 3 guys were somewhat kind of too quiet for my liking against Nashville. And I know Nashville plays a very tight forechecking game. I hope the Hawks can get over this sort of entitlement sort of thought process that they had going in against Nashville, because there was no life in Game 1 and even in Game 2 for the Chicago Blackhawks. Yeah, the Hawks came back. Yeah, they won that series, but they better get over this sort of entitlement crap that's going through their head, and they better bring a very physical, very intense, very aggressive style back to what got them to the Western Conference last year. Anyways, we'll come back. We're going to dive into this series way more. I'm Jason York. Tomorrow we'll get into the goaltending situation with Roberto Luongo versus Antti Niemi. I'm Jason York. Enjoy Game 7 between Washington and Montreal tonight. And remember, folks, if you're watching the games, take the bus, take the cab. Don't drink and drive. Don't drink and drive. I'm Jason York. Thanks for watching, everyone.
Free, little bit better than